Hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of BRG TV. Thanks for tuning in. This week we want to talk to you a little bit about the inspection response. It's a pretty important part of the transaction.
So you've got your offer accepted. The home inspector's been to the house. So now what, right? It's one of the most critical parts of the transaction where it can easily fall apart if not done appropriately. So we wanted to just give you some quick pointers on that.
Yeah. So ideally, when you have the inspection done, they don't find anything wrong with the house, but that almost never happens.
Never happens.
Usually you're going to have to write an inspection response, and basically what it is you're asking the seller to make any repairs, and that's usually due within 10 to 15 days of an accepted offer.
Right. It's negotiated as part of the contract, but most of the time it's that 10 to 15 day period.
Yeah. So that gives you time to kind of take a look at what defects you need repaired. And,
I think the important part that a lot of people miss is you can't just walk away because there's a defect. So say the roof needs repaired, you can't just leave the transaction. The contract actually reads that you have to provide the seller the opportunity to correct such defect in manners suitable to the buyer, of course, but you do have to give them that opportunity.
Yeah, and if it's something major, a lot of times you're able to ask for additional time to gather information, whether it's hiring a contractor to come out and give a quote or something to that effect.
Right. And Indiana Association of Realtors made some changes here in 2019 to the actual purchase agreement document, and a lot of those changes were around the inspections. They really clarified a lot of gray area that used to be in the inspection response. Now there's still some gray there, I think, but it's a little more well defined than it was a year ago. So we wanted to hit on a few of those highlights as to what is a defect.
Yeah, so they really made that more specific with the update. So a defect, according to the contract, is something that would adversely affect the value of the home. It could be something that impairs the health and safety of the people living in the home, or something that would shorten the expected life of the home.
Right.
So if you have a roof, that's maybe towards the end of its life, that needs replaced.
Right, if it's got damage and needs repaired or replaced, that would fall into one of those. So it has to basically fall into one of those three categories to be deemed a defect of such to where you could ask the seller and then potentially walk away if they're not willing to correct it. Mm-hmm. Now a few pointers I guess we should cover on reasons why you can't terminate or can't walk away from the agreement. Those would be things like, if the seller previously disclosed the defect to you. I think that's an often overlooked piece of the contract. Mm-hmm. So in Indiana, we have a seller's disclosure form, which the seller fills out when they list the house. It's to the best of their knowledge, so it certainly doesn't replace an inspection by any means. But if they know about a defect of something in the house, they are legally required to disclose it on that form if it's one of the items. Mm-hmm. So that may be a case where they've checked a box that, hey, that refrigerator is defective. Okay, now you have your inspections. The inspector comes out and says, hey, that refrigerator is defective. Well, they've already told you that up front, so that's not really an item you could then negotiate to get out of the contract on because you knew it at the beginning.
Right, something you've already agreed to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's one example of a reason you couldn't terminate the agreement.
Yeah, so another reason may be something that's just routine maintenance mentioned in the report. What would some examples be?
I think, cleaning your gutters, for example.
Sure.
That's one I just had come up on a report recently. Hey, the gutters are full of leaves that need to be cleaned out. That's our recommendation. Well, that's great. And you can certainly ask the seller to do it, but it's not a reason that you could walk away from the agreement if they weren't willing to, because it would be, in my opinion at least, considered kind of routine house maintenance.
Yeah.
It would be good to get those leaves out of the gutter so you don't have water pouring over the sides and things like that. But is it going to affect one of those three that you mentioned earlier? The value of the house, the safety of you living in the house, or the life of the home itself? And I don't think it falls in any of those categories.
Yeah. So kind of falling into the same category as that is you can't walk away if there are minor repairs that the seller's not willing to do. If there's a light switch cover that is cracked, then you want it replaced. And they're not willing to do that, that's not a deal breaker.
Right. If digging the drywall, everyday things that happen to every house that's out there. So if it's something that's pretty minor and easily fixed, it's not really in the scope of inspections, I would say.
Yep. So it's as you can see, it's a fairly complicated process to write an inspection report and negotiate that between buyers and sellers. It's not something you want to do on your own. That's why we're here as professionals to help you out with that. We try to make it as easy and painless as possible. So it's one of the services we provide as your real estate agent.
Absolutely. So if you have questions surrounding it, reach out to us. You can always find us, of course, online at burrisrealtygroup.com.